It's my first time in Nigeria. It's actually my first time on the entire African continent. So thank you so much for having me. It's a big honor to be here. And today I want to talk to you about built-in AI. And actually, this is a talk that I gave yesterday, but because apparently it was quite interesting, the organizers allowed me to give it again. So if you have been here yesterday, it will be exactly the same. So this is your chance to go out. If you are new, more than welcome. It is a lot of live demos. So everything I do is directly in the browser, so as promised by the title. And I want to start with this page. And I'm pretty sure most of you have seen it. So it's a schedule. So this is yesterday's schedule. So you can see here. This is me talking yesterday. And it's a great page. It does what it should. It's an installable progressive web app. So this makes me really happy. If you install it, you get a great experience. But yeah, I wanted to show you AI features. And for this, I did something that we developers are really good at. I copied and pasted. Yes, someone got it. Who was it? Yeah, someone here. Great. So I just copied the page, and this is my version of the schedule. But you will notice it's a little different. So you can see already if I scroll around here between the two tabs, it's a little different. So let's see the differences. So first, I have new buttons here. So there's a new button, Français. So what does it do? What do you think? Yes, it translates. So if I click that button, I automatically have translated the entire schedule to French. Anyone speak French here? Quelqu'un parle français? Oui, très bien. All right, so this is in-browser translation. This is not using an API that goes to the cloud. This is in the browser. So it's all local. There's no network requests. There's no costs. There's no API keys. It's all running locally based on AI models that we have in Chrome. So the next button is this one here. When I click it, it will summarize the schedule because we're all Generation TikTok, right? So this is a long, long schedule here. So who would want to read this? Come on, that's very long. What if you could just have a summary of it? And this is exactly what we get here. So we have summarized the schedule of, well, it's yesterday, in a bunch of bullet points, which makes it a lot easier to understand what is happening here. So of course, this is mostly just a toy example, but you get the point. You can summarize very long texts and make them more concise. And again, this is running all in the browser, no API keys, no network calls, no whatever, no cost. It's all running locally, directly in my browser. So that's the second button that I added, but there's more. So there's one thing that has a text box here, and it says, ask anything about the schedule. And there's an example given, which talks are about AI, and then there's a submit button. So let's give it a shot. So let's look what we have here, and there's Web3 mentioned. So let's ask about which talks are about Web3. And it starts to analyze the schedule, and it gives me the two talks that yesterday were about Web3. So that's pretty cool. So what else can we do? Well, we can ask about, I don't know, where does the event take place? And then we can submit it. And well, we see that it's taking place in Lagos, so that's great. We have information about it. We have the cinema 1, 2, 3 halls. So we know about the schedule, and we can ask interactively. And again, by now you know the drill. No cost, no API keys, no network requests, all running locally in the browser. So you might be wondering, how does this work? And for this, well, you've seen I hacked and patched the existing page. So this was the original. I hacked it. If you're really interested, you can scan this QR code and try it at home. It won't work on Android phones, so you need to use it on a desktop computer. I will talk about the hardware requirements a little later. But if you try it on the phone, it won't work, so don't be disappointed. But you can use the phone to get the QR code and the link for later. So it's really complex. So if you look at the source code of this, this is no fun, right? Oh, ooh, that's not really fun to understand how all of this works. And there's so many network requests. So what I did is I just essentially make this a lot simpler. So to give you an idea, if you go to the speakers page here, this is me. You can click and you can see this is my bio. It's very short, but you can imagine you have this at a conference page. So what I did is I essentially just took this and made it really, really simple. So you can see here there's 4 basic steps, and I will walk you through all of them so you can see one by one how it works. And let's start with step number 1, basic. So this is mostly reflecting a page like this, where you have a speaker and a speaker bio, and you have a speaker photo. So imagine this would be something like this on a conference page. So what can we do here? Well, we have the biography, we have the speaker image, we have this text box from before. So I can ask stuff about, well, in this case, the speaker. So you can see there's a link about a blog. So I can ask, does the speaker blog? ? And then you can see it starts responding. And here I didn't even render the markdown. So you can see, for example, here, this is bold. So there's 2 stars, which makes it bold font. I really try to keep it super simple so that you can easily follow what is happening here. So before I go into explaining what it does from the button side of this view, I need to first explain the 2 primary buttons here, so the translate button and the summarize button. And for this, it's so simple, I can actually do it live directly in DevTools. So let me show you how this works. Let me open the developer tools here, and let's go to the console, and let's make it big. In the last rows, can you see the text here? So can you see this error message? Yes? Okay, perfect. So let me walk you through what we have. Here in the elements, we have a div with an ID of bio. So whenever I talk about bio, it's talking about this information here, right? So just for clarity, what is happening? Okay, let's make the error message go away. This is from an extension, actually, so let's just make more space. So the first thing I want to show you is translation. If you want to translate something, we first need to know the source language, because, well, if you don't know what to translate from, there's no way to translate to. For this, you need to detect the language. And in Chrome now, we have something called the language detector. So let me show you how it works. Lang detect equals await language detector dot create. So when I run this, I now have a language detector that can, what do you think, detect languages. So if I run this, lang detect dot detect, and I need to give it some text that it should detect the language of, and for this I use bio dot inner text. So remember, the bio was the div here, and when I execute this, I get a 2 elements array. So let's expand it and have a look. In this now, you can see there's the first entry, and it says with 99% confidence that the detected language of my bio is English. So that's great. Now I know the input language, the source language. And with this, I'm now ready to create the translator. So let me show you how this works. So for this, we need a translator equals await translator dot create. But here I need a little bit more information because I need to tell it the source and the target language. So let me do this. So the source language is English, as we just have determined. Of course, you could hook the language detector directly into here. So I hard-coded it, but you have seen how to make it dynamic. And then we need the target language, which is not English. That would be stupid, from English to English. So we want to translate to French. So let's actually do this. So now we have a translator. And now, of course, what we can do is we can translate. So we have trans.translate, and we give it the bio.inner text, and everything is async, so we need to add a wait. And if I run this now, you can now see une traduction française of my biography, all happening locally in the browser. So this is a pretty short text, but sometimes, because the text might be longer, you might want to get more of a streaming translation. And we can also do this. So for this, let me make more space again. So we have the translator from before. And now we can do translate streaming. And I also give it the bio.inner text. And this gives me a stream. So when I run this, I now have a stream that I can read from. So let me show you how this works for a wait. Well, actually, maybe let me show you the stream first. So stream is a readable stream. So it's a JavaScript readable stream that I can read from. So what can we do with this? For a wait chunk of this stream, we can console.log the chunk. And if we execute this, you can see that now it is translated sentence by sentence my biography. And of course, here it's a toy example, so it appeared almost immediately. But you can imagine if you have like really long text, it could make sense to go in a streaming way, because like this, the user gets something a lot faster. So if you go back to here, that's everything that we had explained ready here. So up next, I want to explain to you the summarizers of this guy, where I can summarize long texts into shorter bullet points. Let me do this. So in Chrome now, we have a summarizer that I can instantiate with summarizer.create. And when I do this, I get a warning here that I can safely ignore for now, which tells me you have a summarizer, but you didn't tell it the languages. In practice, you would do this, but for live coding, I'm just skipping this step because my language is English, as we have seen dynamically. So it will just work with the default. But as I said, in practice, if you use this, always specify the language. And now we can summarize something. So summarizer.summarize. And then by now, you know the drill. We give it the bio.inner text. And we need to await the result. And then after a little bit of thinking, it will give me the summary of my biography here in Markdown. So it's a little ugly to see, but let me walk you through it. So in Markdown, if you have a new bullet point, you start with a star, and then the bullet goes until here. So it's the first sentence of my biography summarized as a one bullet point. Then we have a new line character. So here, new line. Then we have the next bullet point that goes until here. Next bullet point that goes until the end. So I've summarized my bio into 3 bullet points. So now it's really easily digestible. So this is, if you go back to here, the summarizer explained. There's a lot more you can do. So you can summarize with more parameters. So you can make it a TLDR, so too long didn't read, instead of bullet points. You can change the length. So you can say instead of a really short summary, you want a medium-sized summary, so it will give you, instead of 3 bullet points, it will give you 5. But for now, this is all that you need to know. You can see it's really easy. I could demonstrate this directly here in the DevTools console. I also want to show you streaming. So just as before, we get a stream equals the summarizer.summarize streaming bio.inner text. Now we have the stream as before. And now I can just recycle what I had. So this. And you can see now it streams in token by token. Here it's tokens, it's not sentences. So it streams in token by token my response. So here the first bullet point, my first name, last name, works as a developer relations engineer, blah, blah, blah. And then you can see it is tokens. It's not words, it's really tokens. You can see this at this instance here. So F and then Ugu. So this is the word Fugu, but it's getting tokenized in 2 steps. So think of it not as words, think of it really as something that the LLM has learned to compose the information in. So as I said, this is this bullet explained. So next we need to explain how this information down here works, so the input field. I could do it in the DevTools as well, but it would be a little bit confusing. So for this, let me actually switch to the sources, and let's make the console go away. And let's see, can we rearrange this a little bit, like that maybe? Okay, so here we have a script, and we're looking at the script that powers this feature here. So let me explain you how it works. In the first 3 lines, we get the DOM references for the form. So this is in an HTML form. We have the input, which is this input field. And we have the output, which is this thing here where the output lands. And then for the form, we add a submit listener that gets executed whenever someone clicks the submit button here. And then we have the callback function, and we prevent the default. So we don't actually want to submit the form to a server. We want to handle it locally in JavaScript, so we need to prevent the default. And I need to then get a reference to the prompt. So what am I asking the LLM? And here you can see I'm getting the input, its value, I trim it. And if after that nothing is left, I can return. So if someone just enters spaces like this, and then presses submit, of course, there's nothing to do. So this is this case. But if you're then still here, then we can reset the output inner HTML to nothing, so make space for everything that is new. And now comes the actual secret. So this is here. And let me try get a little bit more space in. So we have the language model. And by now, if you've seen all the other presentations in the DevTools, this should already feel familiar, right? So we have a weight, we have the thing that we want to create, and then I have the options. So in this case, I'm telling it the expected inputs. So here I have type text, and the languages of this will be just English. By the fact that this is an array, you can see already I could specify more input languages. So I could have English and French, for example, if I want to deal with English and French. But here, of course, I only have my biography written in English. Then we have the equivalent, which is expected inputs, expected outputs. So how will the LLM respond? It will respond with text, also just in English. And then we have initial prompts. And here we give it, well, it's an array. We give it an object of the role system, which is our system prompt. And in the system prompt content, we tell it that you are a helpful general assistant with special knowledge about a person called Thomas Tom Steiner, that's me. And then, as before, I just pass it the inner text. So with this in the system prompt, I tell the LLM, hey, you are a special assistant, but you have special knowledge about this person. So, of course, you would do this for each of the conference speakers. So here you can see I do it just for myself. So I give the knowledge in the system prompt awareness of what it is a general assistant and expert about. And then, well, you've seen this in the summarizer. This is exactly the same. So stream, language model in this case, prompt streaming, so because I want to prompt it, and then we give it the prompt that we have before. So the prompt was what we got from the input field, so this guy. And then, just like before, we iterate over the stream and just append the output to down here. So now I can ask things about me. So I can ask, does the speaker use social media? Question mark. And it responds with, yes, according to the information, blah, blah. It tells me that, yeah, I'm using social media, I'm using Mastodon, I'm using my blog, and so on. So this is good, but it's a very long response. So sometimes you just want the LLM to respond with true or false. So if I ask, does the speaker use social media? True or false should be the answer, not this very long thing. How do we do this? Let me explain to you in step 2 of this. So for this, let me go back to here, go to the second step where we have JSON schema. So JSON schema is a way in JSON to specify how you want a JSON object to look like. And well, let's first have a look at this. So now I'm asking, does the speaker use social media? And now you can see it responds with just true. So down in the left corner, it's a little small for the people in the back. Oh, wow, thunder. For the dramatic effect. All right, so true, I am using social media. So let me zoom out a little bit more. So how does this work? Well, it works thanks to something called response constraint. This is exactly the same as before. We get the references to the HTML. And now we introduce a response constraint, which is a very simple JSON schema. The simplest JSON schema you can think of is just a Boolean type Boolean, but it can have very complex JSON schema as well. So if you have an object that has an array with maximum 3 entries, and the entries each need to look like blah, 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 you can express this in JSON schema. But here I want to keep it really simple, so I just want my response to be either true or false. Then everything is the same. We have the form, we have the event listener, we prevent the default, we craft our prompt, we reset the output, and then we create the language model. So everything here is exactly the same. But now in the prompt streaming method, we have one new thing. So here we have a new objects element, and here we just pass it the response constraint that we have specified before, and everything down here is exactly the same, which gives us this. So now we can ask questions, and the LLM will answer with true or false. So this is useful already, but I want to show you one more thing that you can do with this, which is multimodal input. So I don't have just my biography here, I also have my speaker image. So I can now ask the LLM things about my speaker image. So I can ask, for example, down here, how does the speaker look like? And I submit this, and the LLM starts responding. So based on the image you sent, the speaker appears to be a fair-skinned man with short, reddish, blonde hair. He has freckles across his nose and cheeks. He is wearing a green and brown baseball cap, and so on. So you can see it really does seem to have an understanding. Now I can do one more thing. I can ask about, of course, things about the image. So I can say, was the speaker standing on a beach? And it says, based on the image, it appears that the speaker was standing on a beach. So again, it's responding in Markdown that I don't render, so this is an emphasis. So yes, the speaker was standing on a beach. So you can see already where this is headed. I can, of course, in the end, combine response constraint and the multimodal input. But first, let me explain how even the multimodal input works. So for this, let's jump into the code. We have the 3 lines from before, but now we have one new line, which is a reference to the image. So the image is, of course, the image up here, so I just get a reference to it. Then we have the event listener, we prevent the default. Now you see the first change, because now my prompt will become multimodal, so more than one thing, more than one modality. So I just rename the text to text prompt, which is exactly the same apart from the name. So before we had prompt, now it's text prompt, but everything else is the same. And now we craft the actual prompt. And the actual prompt is now an array. And it has 2 entries here. So, sorry, 1 entry, which is role user, because it's the user speaking. Before, if you remember we had the system prompt. So somewhere up here. Here, we had the system prompt, but now we give it a user. And the content is now the array with 2 entries. So first is type text, and we pass in the text prompt, so the thing from the input field. And the second is an image, and we just pass it directly the HTML image reference, and then we can ask about the image. So everything exactly the same. Expected inputs is now different, because now we have input type text, language is English, but we also need to prepare the model and tell it, hey model, there's also images coming. So I need to tweak my expected inputs and tell the model, okay, images are coming as well. And then I have expected outputs, just like before, text, language is English. And then everything down here is exactly the same. So I have my system prompt, I have my language model that I'm prompt streaming, and then we have seen already the result. So I can now ask things about the bio, and I can ask things about the image. So just to prove that this is still working, I can still ask, does the speaker have a master's degree? And yeah, you can see it's responding with the information here. Well, yes, according to the information, he has a master's degree, blah, blah. And as you've seen before, I can also ask about the image, and the LLM will just dynamically decide, this is a question about the image, this is a question about the bio, so it will just work. And then the final step here is simply just combining the 2. It's not a big secret here, so all I'm doing is I'm combining what I had before, the image and the response constraint, and I'm just adding the response constraint to down here. And now we can ask questions about the image, and the model will respond with true or false, or about the bio. So we can go like, does the speaker have a degree? And it says me true. I can say, does the speaker like baseball hats? And the model also tells me true. Yes, because I love and need baseball hats.
Questions as well.
Yep. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So 5 minutes left, which means I have almost shown everything that I wanted to show you. If you want to play with this, I can, of course, also share the QR code to that. So this is the landing page. So if you want to see very simple step by step how I did this, I think this is a pretty great page to learn. The other page, like my hacked DevFest schedule, not so great, just because I patched it and it's really ugly. But here, you can see this is the code that you can take home with you. It's very simple, it's very easy, and allows you to maybe apply this at your own places. All right, and if you want to learn more, we have documentation that goes into a lot more detail. So I mentioned before, the summarizer has a lot more options, the prompt API has a lot more options, and so on. So if you want to learn how all of this works, this is the link. And if you go to this link, there's this tables and this, there's this table with these links. So you can learn about the translator API, language detector API, summarizer API, and so on. So all of those have shipped in Chrome 138 from here to here. Or the other APIs are currently in origin trial, which means you can already try them with real users on your own web pages. So try this, read about the documentation, learn more, understand what is needed to get this up and running on your browsers, on your machines. And the last link that I want to share with you is to join our early preview program. So if you want to learn really, really more, so if you want to get informed and be amongst the first persons to learn on the planet about what a certain feature is about, join our early preview program, the EPP. There's a simple form that you can fill out, and then you're part of the early preview program. And we have some time for questions, but I wanted to really, really say thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. It was fun talking to you. And yeah, thank you. So anyone has any questions? Gentleman in the first row. Can I get the mic?
Yeah, hello. Yeah. Okay, so when you first started, Okay, so hi, I'm Emmanuel. I'm a front-end developer. You already answered most of my questions with that last page you just showed, so thank you for that. But my question is, the language detector, you know, on the web, on the HTML page, you have these language attributes. So why not use that instead? Like, why did you need an entire language detector? I'm assuming there are features that make it better than just using that regularly.
Yeah, so the question was, why do I need this, the language detector, when HTML already has a way to specify the language? Well, the reason is, you don't know what user-generated content is. So imagine I go here, and I go to my basic input here, and I ask something, but I ask it in German. So I'm from Germany originally, so I can ask, hat der Sprecher einen Blog? And you can't know what the LLM will get, what user-generated content will be. So if I go here, you can see the LLM now responds to me in German. So anyone speak German here? I saw one half hand. So willkommen, good to have you here. So this is why you need the language detection. So here I can dynamically detect the language and see based on user-generated content, what is the language that is appearing here.
Question here.
Yes, here.
Shall I go ahead? Okay. Yeah, it's me from
here, okay.
Thank you for your talk. So I've got two questions. The first is, it's one question, but it's like kind of two, but it's one. It's just one question, yeah. Okay, yeah, my name is Kendi. My name is Kendi, I'm a developer. So because I assume there's a model in the browser that does this, so it's like, what kind of model is it? And when is it initialized? So that's my question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in Chrome, we use a model called Gemini Nano. So all of you have heard of Gemini 3, I guess, in the keynote this morning by John. Gemini Nano is Gemini 3, but shrunk so much that it fits in the browser. There's an internal testing page, actually, so you can go to Chrome on-device internals, and there you can get information about the model status. And here you can see what we're using. So it's Gemini 3, Gemini Nano version 3. It's a small on-device model. You can see the model size is roughly 4 gigabytes. So it's a model that we download, and this was the second part of the question, the first time that someone calls the create function. So you remember language model.create. So the first time someone calls this, it will be downloaded. There's actually a page that explains this. Here, inform the user of model download. So if this, let's see if this loads. Else I can just copy the link address and put it here. So did you know that you can edit this? It took me forever to find out. So that's really cool. So if you need a QR code, you can edit the QR code. So if you scan this now, it will be, now it has loaded as well. So the Wi-Fi was a little slow. But anyway, so if you scan this, and you need to put the mouse cursor out of it, this is about the model download and how it works. And yeah, how essentially you can trigger this, how you can inform the user of the model download. So hopefully it's clearer now. And then we got a question somewhere. Oh, but the time is up. I'm not sure if we are good to have one more question or we need to cut it. We need to cut it, yes. So I'll be around after the talk if you want to ask a question.
For fairness sake, there's this guy who wants to ask a question. So maybe now, us here, you can just respond to him.
Let's continue.
When you're down from the stage.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you.